Okie dokie, good evening everybody, welcome to this little live stream. I hope you're all well. So I thought for this little live stream that I'd basically carry on where I left off on Tuesday and continue painting this little otter painting. I do also have another one underneath, which that one I haven't started painting yet, but I just feel like I want to kind of actually try and see if I can get some of these paintings that I keep starting done. So because obviously I've started painting a few different paintings on these live streams. Like I've got the big bear panoramic one, which I still haven't finished. I've got my little fisherman friends otter illustration that I haven't finished either. So I feel like I need to actually just kind of at least one of the things that I do start on these live streams done. So I feel like I'm going to work on this one today. So I've already kind of blocked out a lot of the otters on it. I still need to paint the fish, but I think what I'm probably going to focus on most today are the little lily pads and the water. I might also figure out what I'm doing in the background as well, but yeah, we're just gonna get out my paints and just see how we go and just develop properly. So yeah, I've got a nice new fresh tub of white paint, which I'm going to have to open to see if it's got a seal on. It usually does. Yep it do. Right, let me get rid of this little seal. But yeah, I was going to do a load of painting yesterday, and I sat down to do some painting, and then I realised halfway through yesterday that my white paint had run out, and it's surprising how much white paint I actually use when it comes to doing different paintings. And I was like, oh, I can't really get on with anything now, so I ended up doing some knitting instead, basically. But yeah, and then I've been waiting most of the day today for the paint to arrive, so haven't really got much done today, but I'm hoping that during this little live stream I can have quite a productive painting session. So, nice fresh tube of paint. Let's get him into my paint palette. I'm going to need some other colours as well. That's nice. Nice and satisfying, squeezing out some new paint. Right, so I'm going to get out some yellow. I'm going to need quite a bit of like pinky red, so I'll get out some cadmium red, but I think I've also somewhere in my little pot of paints got like a pinkier red, which is this colour. It's permanent rose, so I think that's going to come in quite handy for my little lily pads. Squeeze some of that out. Let's get out some blue as well, just in case. I'll probably need to get out some green. Right, get out my green. Lovely jubbly. Okay. Let's see if we can get this little lily pad painted. Down at the front near his little fish. Just gonna, sorry, fiddle around with the camera angle a little bit. Right, I'm gonna go straight into working on this little lily pad. Get that into view. I'm going to go straight in with this lily pad which I've sketched, or this lily that I've sketched down here. I'm trying to create a new post on Instagram for like the last half hour about doing this little live stream, and for some reason I think it's not working very well. It's not even letting me create a new story or anything. Oh well. I'll give it another half hour and try again. So I'm just going to mix in a bit of blue into the pinky red to give me a bit of a darker colour as we get down to the bottom of the petal. I also want to try and blend it in a bit. So what I'm basically darker, I'm using blue to kind of push them away and into the shadows, and then on the bits that are lighter I'm using bits of yellow to kind of bring it closer to the audience or the viewer. The lovely thing about lily pads is that they're very like, the lilies are kind of like a graduation in colour, so they start really white and bright at the top towards the bottom. What I probably do need to do in a minute is mix up like a bluier white as well. So that the bits that are white tipped at the top are still kind of in shadow a little bit. My only trouble is that because I painted the background on this pink, it's a little bit hard at the moment to properly see what I'm doing, but hopefully once I've painted like a darker colour in for the water, the lily pads will start shining out a little bit more, or showing up. want to try and be careful not to get hung up on adding too much detail in at the moment. This is more about just blocking out some colours. Instagram working properly yet? Let's try again. Oh, bit more promising. Nope. Just seems to be frozen on. Nope. Can you get it to work tonight? I had a bit of a day of not getting things to work properly. I spent like 3 hours trying to get Photoshop working today as well. Oh well. Let's go in for a bit of a darker red. So I think when I was designing this the other day, I mentioned about making it so the fish's head is kind of poking in between the petals. So you might get a bit of that petal covering up his front paw as well. Let's mix up a bit of a darker red. Get this petal in. So I'm just at the moment just going to focus on blocking out bits of colour and blending different bits of colour together. Not worried too much about, because I've got like quite a lot of like vein details and stuff, but I'll probably put that in when I get a thinner paintbrush. Because at the moment I've got quite a chunky paintbrush for that. Gonna mix a bit of the red and yellow together and then add some white in to make a bit more of a fluorescent-y colour, because I think they're quite see-through, some of these petals on lily pads. Is Instagram? I don't know. Nope. Hope it's not just my Instagram. Started trying to work out today what I'm going to do for Inktober. Still can't believe we're in Inktober and like the Timbers and the Tober seasons. Very excited about it though, because it's my favourite time of year. All the lead up towards Christmas and stuff like that, I absolutely love it. I go a bit Christmas bonkers. I've always said to my mum and dad I'm basically an elf in disguise, because I spent my whole year making things, so I may as well have been an elf. Oh, I could watch that if I want. No, I'll hold off watching it a few more weeks yet. Okay, so we're starting to get this little lily pad in. I'm just going to move the camera in a bit closer. Please don't fall off the stick. Whee! Right, let's make a bluier pink colour. That's come out more blue than pink. That's right. Adding some pink over the top. Let's have a quick little sip of water. I was considering earlier whether to, if I managed to complete Inktober, which is a very big if, I'm wondering whether to do like a little zine out of the illustrations that I do. But I think for that to work, I think they kind of need to like have maybe like a story element behind them. So I need to kind of think of whether I'm doing, and I do want to use Inktober as a way to develop my story side a bit more. Not just like actual illustrations, but I quite like writing stories as well, so I might use like the whole of Inktober just as a big excuse to design characters and write stories and stuff like that. Let's try and get a bit more of this lightened up. I think the important thing with lily pads is to make sure that the ones that are right close to you are really white and bright. But that's probably going to take a couple of layers of paint to do that properly. Also, I don't want to get in the habit at the moment of adding too much detail at the moment. That's going to be at a later date when I go around adding in more detail. What am I blabbing on about? Right, let's add in a... So behind this little blob fish at the moment is another little petal that I'm going to put in. Okay, these little bits need to be like a really bright yellow. These little pollen-y bits. It's a bit more white than yellow at the moment, but I can always add in some more yellow to tone that down a bit. I think I'm actually going to start painting in some of the water. I can always kind of work into the water a bit more. I just want to make sure I'm distinguishing between leaf, fish, otter, petal and water. So I'm just going to go in with like a darkish green for now. We can always make it either darker or lighter if we need to, but I'm just going to block out some of the water. It'll also help define the shape of the otter a little bit more. So yeah, I'm just going to block it out just with one colour, and then I'll probably have to put some light and shade into them, but for now let's just paint this water in. And some water down near the front of the otter. Put in some water here. Kind of messing around with like different shades of bluey green for the water at the moment. I think also part of this collection I'd actually quite like to do like a little painting just of some lily pads floating in the water, obviously without the otters. And then also, because I want to do like some bear fishing, I could also do some like little studies of the fish that they're catching, but I don't know if that's a little bit cruel. Get rid of some of these brown lines that I sketched the actual design, and that's what's really good about acrylic painting, is that it's very easy to cover up any mistakes that you don't want. It's like if I was to do this as a watercolour, sketch it out like really accurately first, and then gradually rub out different lines and stuff, because watercolour paint is quite hard to disguise lines and stuff that you draw in, whereas with acrylic you can just cover them up. The water will have to have like a lot more light and shade put in, but yeah, just blocking it out for now. Let's block out this side. I think I might try and introduce a bit of purple into the water as well, just by mixing up a bit of red and blue, and do that around some of the parts where I want to have rocks and stuff. And obviously the little otter probably needs to have a bit of shadowing around him and stuff, but again, that can all be painted in eventually. Right, so I was doing up here, I was gonna do lily pads there, and then water up to the rocks, won't I? Sometimes I like to use my finger just to blend out different colours. Doesn't mean that my hands get filthy, not gonna lie, but let's carry on painting in a bit more of water. Mixing up a little blue and green together. A lot of this down here I think was going to be lily pads, but I can always paint the lily pads back in again. Okay, and then with a bit more water down here. I remember this bit was going to be lily pads. But again, I'll just paint it in the water and then we'll put the lily pads in a minute. Okay. I think I might try and get some of the rocks painted in as well. So yeah, the water's going to need a lot more like highlights and shading and stuff put in. But for now, I've kind of blocked out the water. Okay, let's block out some of these rocky bits that the top otter is sitting on. So I don't want them to be, kind of want them to be like a grey pinky colour, and then I can always add them in. Might need to get out some black in a minute. I didn't get any black out when I was getting my paints out. Let's get some black out. Let's just get some black out. Right, let's get a bit of black out. So I'm probably going to need to darken up some of the rocks a bit. Make it a bit more of a reddy grey colour. Right. I need to make it so that when it gets closer to the water, the rocks get darker, but I can do that in a minute. That's going to be a lily pad in front of that, but I might paint over it anyway, because I can always paint the lilies in properly. shoreline darkened up a little bit. I don't need to worry too much because I'm going to paint in the lily pads again, but I just want to darken up the shoreline. But yeah, I'll probably find I'll end up covering up a lot of the shoreline with the lily pads, but never mind. Paint that bit in. I'm looking forward to painting all the little water highlights in eventually, but for now I'm just gonna block out the colours. Right, let's get a few more of these rocks painted in that the otter is sitting on. Because when I come to add in more detail into the water and stuff, I need to remember to put some of the rock reflections in. little rock behind him as well. Okay. Now for the bit behind the otter, I think I'm going to mix up like a dark greeny yellow. So I'm going to mix some blue and some green and some yellow together, and then a touch of black just to darken them. I'm going to start quite dark near the bit of the otter, and then I'll probably add in some like specks of green highlights and stuff to make it look like leaves and bush reeds and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just going to start off with a bit of a dark bluey green, because hopefully that'll contrast quite nicely with some of the rocks and stuff and the little light patch on the otter. I could also eventually, when I come to add in like the leaf details and the reeds and stuff, add some like reds and purples in. Perhaps I might do a few little blobs of reddy purple as well. Sounded like an otter squeaking then. When me and my when we took my nephews to the zoo the other week, the otters that we saw there were like proper squeaking away, bless them. I think round this bit here I'm going to go a bit greenier so it doesn't collapse, so that we don't end up losing the otter's head into the background. La la la. Let's get out for Christmas Day. So yeah, I'm going to go quite green just where the otter's head is, because I don't want his head to disappear into the reeds. Just going to play around with adding like different bits of like pinky purple into the top bit. I don't want it to be completely green. Obviously when I come to add in a bit more detail and stuff, I can add in like some little green lines and some purple lines and stuff like that, but yeah, I just want there to be a bit of differences in the colour. Still think the bit near the otter's head needs to be a bit lighter, but I can paint that later on. Let me just but yeah, I think especially at this stage of this painting, it's more about just placing colours and figuring out where I'm putting things, rather than being too like hung up on details. I do particularly want to keep this area quite light, because that's kind of hinting at where the light source is coming from. So there's a light obviously hitting the otter there, and I need to lighten up him so that it looks like the light is hitting the otter there. So I'm imagining can't say that word, imagining that the light source is coming from up here. So that means that when I come to painting all the light in the water, this bit here needs to end up being quite light. And yeah, So I kind of want to lighten up this bit just as though there's like perhaps a gap in the reeds or something. Again, I don't want to add too much water in detail into the water at the moment because I haven't decided where I'm putting all the lily pads. Try and lighten up the little bit near the tail so we don't lose that. So yeah, I'm basically with this little painting aiming to do a similar thing in the background to what I've done with my little ducks and daffodil one. Where have I put that? That's not it, that's in the painting my nephew done. So yeah, eventually I want it to have a similar feel to like the leaves and the reeds and stuff in this one, but to block out the background colour and then work into it with more detail later. I'm gonna not pay too much attention to keeping in the little oval shape. I can always kind of correct that a bit further down the line. Mustn't forget to add a little bit of pink in. Okay, let's paint some more of the rocks in. One thing I will have to do when I come to actually add in all the detail and stuff is really work on adding some light and shade and stuff in, because it's looking a little bit flat at the moment, but that's just kind of where I'm blocking out colours and not really worrying too much about shading. Hello, Ralph. Right, back. Sorry, I just had to let my little Ralphie out. Right, so let's carry on blocking out some of these little shapes. I think I need to make this bit near the rocks down here quite dark, so I'm going to put in a bit of a darker green. Okay, paint in this little front rock here. Do need to make them look a little bit more rocky, but I'm just blocking out the colours for now. Right, I think I'm going to go back to blocking out some of these little lily pads. Also got to paint the block out the colours for the fish as well. Let's do the lilies and the lily pads first. Quite a greeny yellow for the actual lily pad. And I was going to do some lily pads around this bit as well. Right. Let's paint one in down here. Again, I'm not worrying too much about staying inside the circle shape. I've got to decide whether to keep that or whether to completely blend out, like. But I'll figure that out as I go along. Do it so a bit of the lily pad starts to cover up a little bit of the otter's arm, but not too much. So yeah, I was going to put some lily pads up here near the rocks. I'm not gonna lie, this painting's going through a bit of an ugly stage at the moment, but a lot of paintings do that. Just kind of have to kind of power on through with it. Hopefully it'll end up coming out the other side. I mean, it's because it's just a bit muddy at the moment and there's not much like difference in light and shade and stuff. I also think my internet has started playing up again. Not very helpful.